So let's start with the first step, optimizing your exit strategy for long-term wealth. The first thing you need to do here is to review your company stocks. It's to really take inventory of what you have today. First of all, figure out what kind of stock compensation you have. Is it stock options? Is it RSUs? Is it ESPP plans? How much of it is vested and how much still remains to be vested? Is it going to be vested in a matter of a week or a month? If so, it might be worth waiting for the vesting schedule to take place. If you have vested RSU or ESPP, you can take the stocks wherever you go. But if you have stock options, you have up to 90 days to exercise a stock option before you might lose them. So you have to be really careful about those deadlines. The next step is to do a financial plan. Now, what is a financial plan? A financial plan is a roadmap for how you can get to where you want to be. So let's say you're taking a road trip from California to New York. What are the things you'll need for that road trip? First of all, you'll need a map that shows you how you can get from California to New York, right? And in that map, you will need to know where you're going to stop by on the way to New York. Maybe you're going to stop by New Orleans, maybe you're going to stop by Nashville. So those are more of your short-term or intermediate goals on the way to the long-term goal. Then you need to know if you have enough resources and assets in order to achieve those goals. The resources and assets in this case might be a car or money for gas. Now, when you start looking at your resources and your destination, you might have to do a trade-off of which goal is more important than the other. Maybe you have enough resources to be able to stop for 2 nights in Nashville, but only 1 night in New Orleans. Or maybe stopping both in New Orleans and Nashville is going to delay your plan of getting to New York by a certain time. So you'll have to examine those goals to see which one is a more important goal and which one you can leave behind. Then you also have to think about the risk involved. For example, if you leave too late in the day, you might not be able to get to your destination in the time that you want to, or it might get too dark. Or if you don't carry enough cash, you only have credit card, for example, it might get difficult in certain destinations because certain destinations might only accept cash and not credit cards. So those are all the risks you need to understand and mitigate. In the same way, when you're doing a financial plan, you also need a roadmap for how you're going to get to where you need to be. You need to know, do you have the assets and resources in order for you to achieve those goals? And you also need to know which goal is a priority. And sometimes you have to let go of certain goals in order to fulfill more important goals. Similarly, you also need to mitigate the risks that might be there. In the same way, doing a financial plan helps you understand how you can get to those goals, to where you want to be, and also helps you save and invest in a tax-advantaged way so that it's easy for you to achieve those goals and also mitigate the risks on the way. The next thing you need to do to optimize your exit is to diversify your investments. Now, often if you've worked for the same company for years, you might have accumulated lots and lots of company stocks in RSUs and ESPP plans. In general, it's best to diversify the stocks right away as soon as they vest. The reason is because there's mountains of evidence that shows that it's a really bad idea to invest in a single stock. Remember Intel of the 2000s or even Cisco? Both of these companies were hailed as the next big thing back in the early 2000s, but their stocks are doing pretty poorly now. So in the same way, your company might be doing really well today, but you don't know what the future holds for them. So again, it's best to diversify it right away. However, for some clients I know, they have accumulated millions and millions of dollars in their stocks, and sometimes they feel that the stock is going to keep going up and they want to hold on to it. If that's the case with you, I suggest doing something called a gap analysis. A gap analysis helps us figure out what is the minimum amount you need to diversify from your company stocks so that those goals and priorities that you have for yourself is secured regardless of what happens to your company. So we do a financial plan taking into account all of your goals, all the short-term and long-term goals, as well as all the life milestones like buying a house, buying a second house, etc., sending kids to college, etc. And then after that, we take that equity compensation or that company stock away from the plan to see how it fares. Most likely the plan will fail at that point because you're taking a big chunk of your asset away from it. And that shortfall tells us how much money you absolutely have to protect at any cost in order to meet all your priorities, all your life priorities and goals. And this is the minimum amount that we must diversify in order for your financial plan to work. And that is the gap analysis that shows us how much we need to diversify. Now, once we do that, we still have to figure out what the most tax efficient way there is for us to diversify diversify your company stock. And we'll talk about that next.